We do have a new Fed secretary.
Ranking Member Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the
Kevin
Fed
Warsh,
has
baby.
been-
He's Trump's pick for the Fed secretary. I do want to say, at the same time as getting a new Fed secretary,
Lori Chavez.
Lori Chavez was fired.
Who knows? Has resigned as labor secretary for taking a job in the private sector. Keith Sonderling will take the role of acting secretary of labor. Pretty exciting stuff there.
Be sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah. Oh my God, she's so fucking annoying. Like, another Trump's wheels are coming off the clown car. Yeah, like MSNL is saying, like one after another, after another, after another. Trump is falling apart, completely falling apart. And people like Lori Chavez don't want to be caught in the middle. And now we're just going to add another Trump-cificant who has zero fucking... he has an education, but he's not that smart. So I really do think we're a cooked country, guys. I think we have to get ready for the next century of American rice and bean pills.
Been plagued by deeply disturbing ethics scandals in recent years involving at least 6 Fed officials. So it's critical that the next chair have no financial conflicts, none. You have more than $100 million in investments that you have refused to disclose to ethics officials and to the public. So let me ask, do the Juggernaut Fund or the THSDFS LLC invest in any companies affiliated with President Trump or his family, companies that have facilitated money laundering, Chinese-controlled companies, or financing vehicles established by Jeffrey Epstein?
Senator Warren, thank you. So let me first share a point of agreement with you. The Fed has 2 tools. One is its monetary policy, and the second is its credibility. And the scandals that you talked about, the ethics problems that you talked about, went to the core of the credibility that has hurt the Fed.
Could you answer my question, please? I ask. You have $100 million in undisclosed assets.
I don't think you should be able to have any money. If you're in Congress, if you get elected, your money should just go straight, like,
And what I'm asking,
I don't know, somewhere else, and not family members. Like, it has to be spent, like, on the government. At least 50% of your assets, because this is fucking ridiculous. $100 million going into Congress, or going into the Fed secretary in investments? Ridiculous. These people should not be running our country.
is, are any of those with this outfit?
And Elizabeth Warren calling him out for this is incredibly Hippocratic? Hippocratic? Wait, no. What's the way you say hypocrite, but like she's being a hypocrite? Do you know? If someone's being a hypocrite or being Hippocratic? Hypocritical.
That invests in companies affiliated with President Trump or his family, companies that have facilitated money laundering, Chinese-controlled companies, or financing vehicles set up by Jeffrey Epstein. It's a yes or no question.
Senator, I have worked tirelessly with the ethics officials at the Office of Government
Yes,
Ethics.
and you have not
come to an ethics
revealed
agreement
$100
with
million
them
in
and have
assets.
agreed, Senator, to sell all of
That's
my financial
not my
assets,
question. Mr.
including
Warsh, are you
Duquesne
refusing
assets.
to tell us if you have investments, for example, in vehicles set up to advance Jeffrey Epstein? Is that what you're telling us? You just won't tell us?
Senator, what I'm telling you is that those assets that you represent at Juggernaut will be sold if I'm
All right,
confirmed
let me
before I take
follow
office
up.
and sign the oath of office.
Let me follow up on that. Will you at least
Sold to his family members, of course.
disclose how you plan to disclose and divest these secret assets? I'm sure you understand that the public might question your motives if, for example, billionaire Stanley Druckenmiller, who you honored in your opening statement, and who makes a living guessing what the Fed will do next, cuts you a massive check for $100 million as you take the oath of office to become the new Federal Reserve Chair.
Senator, as you know, it sounds like your fight might not be with me, but the Office of Government Ethics. I have come to full agreement with them and have agreed to divest all of those assets,
I'm asking you a
especially
very
those that you
straightforward
referenced,
question,
before I
Mr.
take the oath
Warsh,
of office.
and that is,
The fact that he's still going to get confirmed is ridiculous. There's zero reason why Democrats should ever allow people like this to get confirmed.
will you disclose how you divest those assets, or will you just collect?
What's the vote for a confirmation? Because if every Democrat doesn't vote for it and they get Republicans on their side, I guarantee he would never get confirmed. How many yes to get confirmed by Congress? Isn't it 50-50? Yeah.
The check for $100 million from someone whose whole business is betting on what the Fed will do.
As I said to the ethics officials at the Federal Reserve and the Office of Government Ethics,
I'll
and they agreed,
take that as a
I would
no
be
as well.
redeeming my
So
assets
Donald
before
Trump
I take
has made
office.
clear that he does not want an independent Fed. In fact, he has said, and I quote, "Anybody that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman." And he's made clear that you are his sock puppets.
See, that is civilizational ruining behavior.
Saying last week that interest rates will drop, quote, "when Kevin gets in." Yeah, I think they do. Not when economic conditions change, we'll get lower rates. Not when the economy needs it. Nope. He said, when my guy, Kevin Warsh, is in there, we'll get the interest rates that I, Donald Trump, wants. So independence takes courage. Let's check out your independence and your courage. We'll start easy. Mr. Warsh, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
We try to keep politics, if I'm confirmed, out of the Federal
I'm just
Reserve.
asking you a factual
Oh my
question.
God,
I need to know,
dude.
I need to measure. You're
We're
independent
beyond Cook with the Federal Reserve. Holy shit.
and your courage.
Senator, I believe that this body certified that election many years ago.
That's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking, did Donald Trump lose in 2020?
And I'm suggesting you in
I'm
2020, the
suggesting you
Fed
can't
made
answer
a
that.
huge inflation problem, and you certified the election.
So
We
let
need
me
to keep
ask you
politics
another
out
question.
of monetary policy.
In our meeting, you
monetary
said
policy out
you
of
would
politics.
be independent because you're, quote, a tough guy. Those were your words, tough guy. And you will be able to stand up to President Trump.
She likes it as much as I do. I like his tough guy act. The tough guy is pretty funny.
So let's try it again. Name one aspect of President Trump's economic agenda with which you disagree.
Well, Senator, the Federal Reserve in recent years has wandered outside of its remit, wandered into other
I'm
areas.
asking for something
That's
you
not something
disagree
I'm
with
prepared
Donald
to do.
Trump on.
If I'm
Just one
confirmed,
economic-
the Federal
one
Reserve should stay in
economic
its
issue.
lane.
Just one little place where you disagree with Donald
Well, I
Trump.
do have a disagreement, actually, Senator, with the president. I think even this morning he said that he thought I was out of central casting. I think central casting, I'd look older, grayer, and maybe show up here with a cigar of sorts.
Quite adorable. But
What
you
a
know,
s- what a stupid fucking response, man.
need a Fed chair who is independent. That's the only way we preserve the independence
I
of
agree.
the Federal Reserve. If you can't answer these questions, you don't have the courage and you don't have the.
The fact that the president is allowed to elect secretaries of these positions is completely fucking balls. And I will not use the R slur, but it's completely fucking moronic. There's zero reason why the Fed chair should be appointed by the president and not just picked by the House of Representatives or the Senate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Walsh. Until you dispose of all the assets you've identified to the Office of Government Ethics, you will not be in compliance. Is that correct?
My understanding is that a signed ethics agreement provides duties and responsibilities on me and duties and responsibilities on the government, and that's what the nature of the ethics agreement is.
You have an agreement that within 90 days you will dispose of all your assets. All your assets. Is that correct?
Senator, I have an agreement within 90 days so that there is no appearance of anything inappropriate. I would divest all of my assets, the majority of which before sworn in. What I've disclosed, Senator, is all the information that is mine to disclose. I've shared all information about assets that I control and that I can share, which I did much to the
It sucks because we're never going to get a law forcing politicians. If you work in the government or you're a political, like, not influencer, but if you're working for the Fed or any government office where you're a high-ranking member and you sort of elected official or president appointee, there's zero reason for your assets to not be completely publicly disclosed.
satisfaction of the Government Ethics Office.
Excuse me. What you've said is that you will take the oath, if confirmed as chairman, with assets that have already been identified as presenting potential conflicts of interest. Will you agree to not take the oath until you have fully disposed all the assets that you've been identified?
Senator, I'll agree to take the oath pursuant to the terms of the ethics agreement that I struck with the Office of Government Ethics. I
Which is
don't think anyone can
puppeted by Trump.
do more than that. Other than me, I've agreed to divest even more assets so that I will have virtually no financial assets.
The divestiture is totally up to you. You can select what assets you're disposing of, what assets you keep. Is that correct? And then still be
Yes.
sworn in as chairman.
The divestiture is up to the agreement that I struck with the Office of Government Ethics.
Who makes the decision as to what assets are divested, you or the Office of Government Ethics?
Both of us. That's why it's an agreement.
No, you did not. You get to choose what you divest. And it's probably all going to your family members. Or your own pocket corporations where you have deals with them about your investments.
I must commend you on the way you can circularly go around questions and not answer them. It's a skill. Unfortunately, it's not a good skill for the chairman or of the Federal Reserve Board. We typically ask questions and expect to get direct faithful answers.
Hey, Mr. Reed, you're actually pushing what I want more politicians to do.
So, again, you feel you will not be, you will be compliant if after 90 days you still have a significant number of assets that have been identified as presenting conflicts of interest. Is that your view?
No, Senator. If I were to violate the ethics agreement, I would not be in compliance. If I follow the agreement, I will be.
Well,
What an answer, man. What an answer. If I follow the rules, I will be a rule follower. If I don't follow the rules, I'll be a rule breaker, and that's bad.
that's your position. I think others would differ.
Fucking idiot.
When you sell all your assets, where are you going to place the proceeds of those sales? I believe that Chairman Powell has placed them in sort of funds which are very difficult to individually influence. Do you propose to do that?
Yeah, I propose to put them in permissible assets that are as close to cash or treasury bills as I possibly can. I haven't selected anything, but it will be as plain vanilla as possible so that there would be no appearance or reality of having any influence. We'll be sitting in something like cash.
Okay. Now, the question of independence is just one that I think will dominate these proceedings. This morning, President Trump was asked on CNBC, will you be disappointed if your new Fed chair doesn't cut rates right away? And President Trump answered, I would. It's very hard to
Don't believe him for a second, by the way. If he says he doesn't want to cut rates, he's going to cut rates.
separate President Trump's obsession with rate cuts, his attacks on the Federal Reserve, on Chairman Powell particularly, and your nomination. So this independence thing seems to have evaporated quite quickly between President Trump's statements and your positions. Again, you maintain you'll be independent of President Trump?
Yes, Senator, I do.
Well, President Trump constantly maintains that nobody's independent of him, that it's his morality that guides the whole United States government, including the Federal Reserve, and that you will be someone who will carry out his wishes. Frankly, do you suspect that he chose you because you indicated to him that you want to cut rates?
Senator, I don't know the reason for the president's choice, but I can tell you what I've been writing about for 15 years and what I said to the president, which is
I'll cut rates if you give me the job.
no, that's not what I said, Senator. Now, the president, as you might know, much like virtually all presidents I've either known or studied, presidents tend to be for cutting rates. I think the difference is President Trump expresses it quite publicly without surrogates or subterfuge, but presidents want lower rates. But Fed independence is up to the Fed. Fed leadership has to make a decision about what's the right thing to do.
No,
in my judgment,
you're a leader. You're the leader. You establish the moral and ethical standards and economic principles of the Fed, and you just pass it off to, well, you know, it's not my job, it's everybody's job. That means it's nobody's job. Thank you.
True. Man, he's getting fucking fried, man. I don't know how easily he's going to get confirmed. No, Trump's last confirmation request got confirmed way faster than I thought it would.
Congratulations. You can't count this as a date with Jane, particularly this one. I think probably the first hearing was a little less acrimonious. I'm not going to ask you anything. You can take a break and get ready for the bludgeoning on the other side. They're going to beat you till you bleed, and then they're going to beat you for bleeding. I'm going to talk about what's preventing me from being in a position to vote for you until we've spent time together in my office. You have extraordinary credentials. They're impeccable. I think.
Shut the fuck up, Mr. Kennedy. I want to see what you're talking about.
Had a budget go over, we'd have to reserve an area roughly the size of Texas for a penal colony because of the way government projects work. And the reality is the overage, inflation adjusted, was about $730 million, the majority of which seems to be legitimate. Next slide. Not acceptable, unfortunate.
Next slide.
Legitimate. Now, what I've really got a problem.
That's not like a bad thing to say. I think I would say next panel, but I just think it's funny that we're calling it next slide.
And we're talking about Fed independence. By the way, I think you're going to be independent. You have to be. You got to convince 11 other people to vote with you, at least a majority. It's a consensus organization. You try to get the majority to. Most of these votes are 11-1. So if anybody thinks the president can appoint somebody and you unilaterally can control things, you're going to be an unsuccessful chair, if history is any guide, and you've served under some of the best. So I know you're going to do it right. The problem that I have here is that we had some U.S. attorney with a dream, or assistant U.S. attorney, thinking it would be cute to bring Chair Powell under an investigation just a few months before the position was going to be open. This happened this year. Normal course and speed. Here's how it works at the Fed. May the 15th, the term would have expired. We'd be having this hearing. You'd be getting confirmed. Custom also suggests that the sitting chair, even though he has 2 years left on his term, would have exited. But instead, we have somebody who thinks a building project that went over by about $700 million with a lot of what seemed to be justifications for it are holding up this whole process. It sounds like to me somebody over in the DOJ didn't even check with the boss. The boss said on the same night that I said I can't go forward until this bogus investigation is done with, said he didn't know anything about it. So we've got people in DOJ over in the D.C. circuit or the D.C. district doing these investigations. We have got to end this investigation. Big DOJ didn't know about it. The president didn't know about it. Let's get rid of this investigation so I can support your confirmation. Mr. Warsh, the only thing I've found.
Wow, the self-interest is very blatant
The
here.
least bit odd about you is you've never watched an episode of Seinfeld. You've spent so much time at being a rock-solid economist that you're not even taking time away for a little laugh like that. I look forward to supporting your nomination.
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I mean, every single Trump candidate referral is going to just follow him. I would this plus the rising oil price, barrel of oil. I know people are expecting. Whoa, physical oil went over $250 a barrel. That's fucking crazy. Bit over 250 Bloomberg interview. What worries me is that the headlines, I mean, oil headlines above 100, 110 realistically, but now you're trying to get oil from the Middle East, you may be paying 140, 150. Dude. Oil analysts say they wouldn't be surprised to see prices reach $200 to $250 a barrel. Holy shit. Guys, our market's cooked. With the Fed chair being replaced by a Trump sycophant, I don't know, man. The next few months, the rest of this year is going to be a real big clusterfuck. And y'all need to start saving. You need to save your money a lot. Make sure you're not spending money on tasty treats. I know it's hard, but you kind of have to not to right now. You kind of have not. You can't be out here spending money on tasty treats right now. It's just not economically feasible, especially if you live in a big city.